Hi. Today we're going to be going over the ultimate, the comprehensive, the be-all, end-all guide to optimizing Power BI. Stay tuned. Boom. All right. Thanks for tuning in to Kratos BI. As I said, today we're going to be going over the last guide you're ever going to need when it comes to optimizing Power BI. I kid. But we're going to be going over soup to nuts, all the different places that you could go to optimize your Power BI environment. And we're going to be running through all the different best practices at each of these levels. And then we're going to be giving you resources so that you can research any and all questions that you may have. All right? We're going to jump right into it. Blood out. Today, as part of this, we're going to be first covering why does optimization matter? Why is it important to you? What are the things that you need to be looking for? What benefits does it bring to you, your company, and your users when it comes to optimization? Why should you take the time to do these things, right? Then we're going to talk about like workspace optimization. We're going to go over how you configure, set up your workspaces to be most effective and efficient for use inside your reporting structure. We're going to talk about data flows, how you organize them, how you build them out, how you make sure that these data flows are efficiently bringing data into your environment and data into your Power BI reports. We're going to talk about Dataset Optimization. That includes breaking out your like how you manage your data sets, how you build out your DAX statements, how you build your dimensions, and how you structure your fact tables. And then we're even going to be going over how you optimize all of your reports. Along with all that, we're going to give you detailed resources and links down to any and all resources that are available as of today inside the Power BI space that you can use to help build out better content. All right, on to the first topic, why optimization matters, right? So, as you can see, optimization matters. First thing first, you want your faster reports. Users shouldn't be clicking on things and waiting for things to come up. They shouldn't be opening up a report and taking minutes for that entire report to load, right? You need your back end, data model, your DAX statements, and everything running at peak performance in order to get the appropriate levels of performance that you need inside your reports. I'm giving you an SLA right now. That SLA is you have 3 seconds. That's 3 to bring up every single visual inside your Power BI, be it a grid, be it not grids. Grids are different. Be it a KPI, a chart, a bubble chart, anything. You get 3 seconds. That's it. That's the standardized set I go for every single time I build a report. May not hit it every time, but 3 seconds, that's the key. Grids are harder. There's more detail. The bigger you get, this can extend it, but the target is no more than 5 seconds, all right? 5 seconds, that is a low bar, but those are the goals I want you to set for your Power BI reports when it comes to faster loading reports. 3 seconds on visuals, 5 seconds on grids, all right? Stay with me, 3 and 5, all right? Now we're going to be talking about faster load times. That's really important when you're talking about how long it takes for your data sets to load into Power BI. The longer it takes, the more problems you're going to have. You're going to run into performance issues. You're going to run into errors. You're going to run into connectivity challenges. The longer it takes to load your environment, the more headaches you're going to have. This is going to cause you bigger problems, and that's why you want an optimized space, because you need to be developing your content faster. You don't want to be mucking around and set your table to load and go down to Starbucks and get a cup of coffee and come on back and talk to, Rakesh over there and see how he's doing. And big shout out to Rakesh. But, see how everyone's doing, right? You want to be building out your content, and you want it to be loading and running quick. That's what having optimized downloads helps ensure that your development is running as fast as you can. This additionally helps reduce complexity. When we're talking about lean development, we're talking about Six Sigma, we're talking about like lean, mean development inside here. And the more optimized your environment can be, the less complex it is. That makes it easier for you to support, easier you to add content, easier for your users to know which reports they should be going to. They have thousands of them that are available to them. If you build out optimized environments and optimized content, they're always going to be going to your content because it's going to be the easiest to navigate. Additionally, as you have teams that, it might just be you who's building out stuff, but someday there's going to be someone who's going to be helping you out, right? Or if you're on a bigger team, the more optimized your environment, the more optimized your code, the easier it's going to be for them to support you. Optimization is a big deal. You really need to focus on it just on that alone. Additionally, optimized stuff reduces the failures. That means less time spent trying to figure out why the heck did that data set fail to refresh. Why is my cube producing this error? Why am I getting these issues from my users about non-responsiveness, or those stupid gray X's, or straight up errors, right? An optimized environment will help eliminate, or at least minimize, the errors that you get from users, all right? That's a big deal, right? All of that leads to lower maintenance, so you spend more time building out content, building out things that you want and need, and less time just piddly, playing around trying to get, a load back up and running and figure out what's causing a problem, right? Maintenance is no fun. We want to get down to zero maintenance whenever and wherever possible, right? We want to be working on developing new things, solving new problems, and an optimized environment is what's going to do that for you. All right. Next, it reduces confusion, right? If you have an optimized environment that's cleanly laid out, cleanly defined, and easy for people to navigate, it becomes really easy for you to do anything and everything you want in there. All right. That's a big deal, right? Having that reduced confusion helps ensure all of the things above go quickly. When you do have an issue, you're able to easily go right in and fix it. When someone reports a problem, or when you want to go and add something, really easy to know when and where to go to add that in. All right, and here's the big one. It reduces your expense. A lot of people are out there. They're running in Power BI Premium. They've got analysis services out there. This is kind of the same for both, right? But Power BI Premium and analysis services are kind of expensive. In fact, they might be the most expensive piece of your cloud stack. It's entirely possible. But they're very valuable. If you run in an optimized model and optimized development processes, you're going to radically reduce your premium capacity spends, your analysis service spends, and your users and your CFO is going to be much happier because of it. All right, it's going to allow you to add more content, build more models, do more things inside that space. All right, so Microsoft probably doesn't. This is the video Microsoft doesn't want you to hear, right? Because you're going to reduce all of your spending. Watch this video. You might save $1 million. I want to hear if you save $1 million. All right, comment down below if you saved $1 million. Oh, and while we're at it, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you want to be part of this and more content that we're publishing. Make sure you smash those buttons. All right, it's really important for the channel, for this to keep going, that I get those likes and I get those subscribes. So please hit that button down below. And then the number one reason why optimization matters is the more you optimize, the more you consolidate, the more you condense, the more you get down to that single source of truth. That one data set, that one place where you go to get all of your analytical information. That means that you know for a fact that sales number in report A is the same number that's in report B, that's in the same number in ZZ plural Z, right? That lends massive credibility to you. All right, that single source of the truth is that elusive quicksilver thing that anyone and everyone inside the analytical space is constantly talking about. You can bring that to them by building out optimized Power BI data sets, optimized data flows, and optimized reporting environments. Super, super important. All right, first topic we're talking about is Workspace Optimization. This is one of my favorite topics because it's something that people often overlook. Number one, make sure that you're managing all of your workspaces with Azure Active Directory groups. Fairly easy to set up. ensures that you have security across your entire O365 and Azure platform, and that users who are trying to access anything have the appropriate levels of security wherever they go. So if you're direct connecting to a SQL DW, you're direct connecting to a Azure SQL or O365, whatever you're connecting to, they're able to connect to it, and you're appropriately managing security throughout all of your workspaces and all of your environments. All right. Always use your Power BI Gen 2 workspaces. If you haven't upgraded your Power BI workspace, make sure you do that today. If you need information on how to do it, check out Lucas's posts on how to upgrade your Power BI Premium workspace. Here's the big key for running optimized models and data flows and whatnot, is you group all of your data flows into and data sets into one workspace. This is a big advantage of the Gen 2, is that you can manage all of your workspace, your data flows and data sets in one workspace, and then you can you consume that in another workspace, right? So have one workspace for that, one workspace for reports, and then a separate workspace based upon audience that you link to the other reports and that you then share with AD groups out. This ensures that you're only maintaining one single data flow, or a set of data flows that go into your models that then go into reports that are published a singular time, and then it's distributed out multiple times. This is not really straightforward yet. Hopefully the service is going to do that. But what you can do is you can share a report and then create the links in the separate Power BI workspaces that you're going to be using for apps to share more broadly. All right. This ensures that you're using things only one single time. Once you get all that stuff in place, once you have your workspace for data flows, data sets, a separate workspace for reports, and then a separate workspace based on audiences for your Power apps, right? So I'm sorry, for your Power BI apps, right? Then you've got a totally optimized workspace. You have no duplication anyplace, and you're just only having to main one piece of content. That is incredibly awesome, except for you. The challenge you can run into then is, well, Chris, what if I want to make a change? How do I know what's going to happen? Aha! That's where the most recent features that have come out that are using the lineage that will notify you when you're going to make a change that is going to have downstream impacts. That also lays the path for people to start to use the new application lifestyle management functionality that's available in Power BI today. Super excited about that. Hopefully they're going to remove the restriction on having all three workspaces in premium. Crossing our fingers on that one. Nimrod, haha. Count on you, buddy. Let's get that done. All right. Let's move on to the next topic, Dataflow Optimization. All right. Big key with data flows. These are like managing your tables. All right. You don't want to have three tables when it comes to employees or people or customers. You only want to have a singular table that has these in it, okay? And that's true across your entire Power BI landscape that you're working and operating on, all right? Work hard to have a singular table that's defined inside of the Power BI space to help you, okay? And then, that's incredibly important when talking about optimized data flows. Just have the one, use that many different times, all right? Anytime you're talking about an incremental flow or an incremental load, make sure you break those up into individual, data flows that you define. Don't combine them inside of a singular flow. You're gonna have a bad time. Don't do it, all right? Make sure, the next piece that is important is you make sure that you bring all of your filters that you're doing on any data set, bring that up to the top. You wanna pump that up to the top of your transformations to enable that sweet query folding that you can get that will really make the Power BI service hum. So make sure you're doing those filters absolutely at the top of any and all of your loads, okay? And when you do your loading, I want you to think in 3 distinct data load layers. Now, some will say 2. It's definitely not 1. All right. First thing first, land your data pretty much as it is from the source. The only thing I want you to do, number 1, filter. Get that sweet query folding going in. So filter down the data sets that you're going to do on that in your first landing layer. Number 2, select which columns are not going to be coming from the source. There's probably tons and tons of things that you don't need to necessarily bring down from a lot of sources. Be a little, be a little prejudiced against having many different columns. If you don't need that column, don't bring it, right? Most data warehouses and a lot of databases have metadatabase columns that can help, like when a file was last updated or who updated it, or what process updated it, or a lot of those different things, right? The last updated can be good because we just talked about that whole incremental loading thing, so that can be very effective for you. But the rest of those metadata columns, leave them in the lake, leave them in the source. You don't need those inside your analytical space. This may give you some ideas if you're trying to harden your workspace. So if you're building out data flows that are going to be managed by dozens of people, you may want to think about replacing those warehouse-based metadata fields with metadata fields of your own, okay? But for the most part, just don't include, fields that you don't need on the landing, all right? The next layer is your curated layer. This is where you're going to be doing, this is like your work section. This is where you're going to do your transformations. This is where you're going to mash up against other data sets. This is going to be a kind of a free-flowing space where you're going to be making your changes. This is a layer that a lot of people will omit. They'll skip over, they'll just go from landing to the consume layer, and they'll just do it all in one step. I'm going to caution you against that. By going straight to that consume layer, you can often miss, or try to cram too many things into that one space. Take that central step, do your mashups, do your changes inside that layer before you move on to the actual process layer. All right. And then the final step is that process layer. That process layer is going to include all of that enrichment that you're going to do to make that data most consumable and most user-friendly for your users. This is the layer you're going to look at things to do, like create friendly names. You're going to make sure that all of your formatting is done. If you have an integer-based field where it's got like 16 digits after the 0 or after the decimal, you're going to chop that stuff off. You're just going to basically be making that layer as pristine as it possibly can. You're going to leave all of those real dirty transformations for in your curated layer, and you're going to leave the sourcing of that data in for your landing layer. All right, on to the next one. Dataset optimization. All right, the idea of building out a golden data set. There is a link there's lots of links down below that talk about in great detail around how and why you should build out golden data sets. They are incredibly important when it comes to building out that single source of truth. All right, focus in on building out that single data set that you can then make accessible and available to anyone inside your organization. And Chris, you're saying, but Chris, some of this information is sensitive. People can't see all of this information. I know. That's why we use row-level security. If you don't know how to use row-level security, again, check the links in the presentation down below. Tons of information on how you can easily add row-level security to lock down that model so you can use one reporting model, and you can make it available to anyone and everyone inside your organization, because you know that there's no information there that they can get access to that they shouldn't be able to see, right? You've locked that down. All right, as you're building out your data sets, do not be afraid to run a mix of in-memory and direct query. This is called composite models, right? Use those tricks to build out those centrally cached data sets that you're using for interactive analysis, that you're using for having users work and play inside Power BI. Have that all in cache. But when a user needs details, because users should be drilling into that source of truth, and that call to action should take people into to very specific details. Send them off into direct query. Launch them down to paginated reports. Send them directly down into that data so you don't have to have all of that data stored inside your cube or inside Power BI. I mean, Power BI is great. You can expand it up to 4 terabytes, but you can expand like infinitely using the drill through capabilities and then passing them off into other content. All right, design that into your model. Design that for that user behavior so that you can easily transition between that interactive experience that people want to see and those detailed experiences that people want to see. Plan for it. Count on it. You know they want it. All right, and then think about how you're going to use a user build strategy. Right? God knows I've tried to build out the best reports and dashboards that I think people are going to love, and that's going to have the broadest use cases out there. And while some of my reports and dashboards have gone out to upwards of 30,000 people, they're never, ever, ever good enough for every single one of them. Guaranteed. Hand to God, it's never going to happen, right? Everyone wants to look at these numbers. Not everyone. Many people are going to always, or someone is going to always want to look at the numbers in a different way. They're going to want to see a bar chart where you have a line chart. They're going to see a KPI where you provide details, right? Think about what your user building strategy is. How are you going to make this analytical information available to those users who want to dig into it, who want to understand how these things can happen? Make sure you've defined that. Think that through. That is super important. The value that you can add to an organization by having an optimized model that it's user accessible, that's got definitions in place, that's got descriptions, that is readily accessible and available across Power BI, Excel, and any other XMLA read endpoints is incredibly important. To that end, make sure that you have an endorsement strategy for your Power BI data sets. All right, straight up. If you have no endorsement, that's personal use. If you're on a team, never, ever, ever use a non-endorsed data set. That's just for ad hoc analysis. Any team, you should be using a promoted data set. That's for teams or departments, smaller departments. Anything beyond that, we're talking about a certified data set that is ready for enterprise-based consumption and deployment. Enterprise-based consumption means, what was the second thing we talked about? Row-level security. You don't know how to do row-level security? Remember that guy I was talking about? His name's Rakesh. Rakesh Reddy. Or Rakesh Illuminati. You're going to have to look him up, or else check out the links down below. RLS is what's going to save your day. All right. Now, on to the next topic, DAX Optimization. This is the first topic as we start to delve deeper into our data sets and understanding what's going on there and how we can optimize this. All right. First thing first, no naked measures. If you don't know what a naked measure is, don't Google it. I mean, you can Google it. It's not bad. Naked measures are, you write a DAX measure for anything you want to summarize, you write a DAX measure. It's super easy. Total amount of sales equals sum total sales, right? And enter, right? That's it, right? Don't just drag and drop that total sales column that you see there. It may have that little summarized column by it. Forget about that. That's great for ad hoc BS. You're a professional. You're building out optimized data sets. Never, ever see a naked measure out there. I don't want to talk about those. I don't want to see them. Always have a DAX statement. All right. Next thing, move all of your DAX measures into one table. All right. In fact, create a table _measures. Right there you go. Standard _measures. Put that into all of your tabular models and put all of your measures inside that folder. That'll make it really easy for users to go to exactly where they need to have it. And if you want to provide additional context around what the measures pertain to, don't plunk them all over on all these different tables because this means this and this table. Nah, none of that. You're going to organize them by putting those measures that are in the one table into folders based on subject, based upon how and why you'd use them. All right. If you don't know how to do that, again, links down below. Check them out. Figure it out. Get that stuff in. They're super important. All right. Then You're going to also, in your DAX measures, you're going to make sure that you're using variables so you minimize the number of times those measures end up having to recalc. If you want to understand how and why those variables are used, check out the Italians. They have some great blogs out there. Again, links down below. But variables allow you to encapsulate the calculation a singular time inside that variable and then use it repeatedly without a DAX expression. All right? Super important. Next step, learn what calculate and also what filter is. So calculate and filter are probably the two most powerful DAX formulas that are functions that are out there. Make sure you understand how you're using them. Make sure you get those inside your statements. Super important. Next thing, minimize your iterative functions like SumX. SumX and other iterative functions, every time you use it, it runs through every single little iteration to calculate your measures. Sometimes you need to do that. Sometimes you need that row level context as you're calculating something out. So SumX is what you need to use. But if you don't need it, don't use it. All right? Watch out for your iterative functions. That could really slow down your environment and really slow down your performance. Eliminate whenever you can. Next, break up your DAX expressions into different pieces. So first, use variables. Second, don't write these big long DAX expressions that it's going to be impossible for you to troubleshoot that end result because it goes through so many machinations. All right, break those DAX expressions out so you can follow along and make sure that those pieces are, and that functionality is working as you'd expect. This is really, really important, especially in very complex DAX expressions. All right, and then along with those really complex DAX expressions, if you have to write one, and sometimes you have to, right? Make sure you go out to the DAX formatter and you plunk that DAX code in and you format it. Again, links down below for where you can get to the DAX formatter. All right, and then the final thing when it comes to DAX measures, make sure you're using calculation groups. All right, now calculation groups are relatively new. What they basically allow you to do is anytime you have a consistent function that you're going to be applying to many, many different measures, instead of having to write that function out many, many different times, you can write that out into a calculation group, and then you could just call that calculation group when you're using a measure. For example, this is highly effective when you're doing things like creating all of your time-based series calculations, your month-to-date, year-to-date, period-to-date, calendar-to-date, type of functions. It's really useful to use calculation groups when you're doing this. All right. It's also great if you're doing any currency conversions. That is at the top of my mind right now because I am blowing my brains out over calculation or currency conversion right now. But I think we've got it. Thank you, Microsoft Rich. You guys have been a godsend. All right. Next, when we talk about dimensional optimization, again, all under the umbrella of building great tabular models. Details in the links below. But make sure when you're building out your dimensions that you focus in on only joining by integers. That's your number one rule. I don't want to see like those long strings. It's called an integer, it's called a foreign key, but there's like B100ZZ alpha and then a key number. Nope. Get that out of there. Integer based joins only. That includes your date dimension. YYYMM DD, right? That's your smart key. That's your join that you're going to use on all of your date dimensions, all right? And speaking of that, make sure that you have a date dimension. Date dimensions are the most important piece of your tabular model. That's your foundation. That's your basis. That's where you start. It is truly the most important thing because it's the one dimension that's constant for any and all tabular models that are out there. Is that time. Time moves in a linear fashion unless you're into that whole timey-wimey type stuff. And then I don't know if there's a Doctor Who tabular model out there, but I don't know how they do their date dimensions. All right. Then when you're talking about your dimensions, you want to make sure that you're making sure that you don't go terribly too wide, right? You don't want to go super wide. You want to look at how you can minimize the number of fields inside your dimension, right? You know, having 30, 40, 50 fields, okay, you can do that. But for those of you who are all crazy about your dimensional fields, I don't want to see those 100, 250 column dimensional fields while possible. Don't do it. Break that stuff out. Find ways to reduce it. Find ways to minimize. Find ways to say, all right, we're going to use 2 or 3 different name fields. We're not going to have 47 name fields, right? Like, get over yourselves. Find one, pick it, and stick with it. All right. Next step. This is a little bit of a shocker. Many people don't know this, but if you can find ways to keep your cardinality beneath 127,000 records, you're going to have no problem under any circumstances maintaining that 3 and 5 second SLA on your visuals and your grids. Again, 3 and 5. Those are your SLAs, all right? You keep your cardinality under that. You have your integer-based joins. You're going to be giddy up. You're going to be rocking and rolling, all right? Now, this is not always possible. If you're talking about big organizations who have millions of customers, well, sometimes you gotta bend and break those rules, all right? Then you just gotta do what you gotta. But figure out how you can minimize those. Look for things like slowly changing dimensions that you can move to the fact table, that type of a thing. Oh, we're gonna talk about that in a second. But find ways to minimize that. Additionally, look at how you can minimize the number of bidirectional, joins between your tables. Have that just go one way. Sometimes you need it to go both ways. Don't just do it as by default. You're going to run into all sorts of performance issues and actual interaction issues if you do that. Don't do that by default. Just use that sparingly where you need to, okay? Some people say you can do it all over the place. That's not right. Do it sparingly, all right? Next thing, I kind of briefly mentioned this. Figure out how you can move slowly changing fields into the fact table, right? Fields that are going to be changing on a very slow basis, on things that aren't going to be updating all that often, but they are going to be updating. Move those into the fact table or any other dimension that has a function of time in it, all right? In fact, sometimes you might even want to have a fact table that just tracks things like age, right, for each of your clients, something along those lines. Think about, I think they call those factless fact tables, right? Not going to get deep into it because it doesn't matter, right? But figure out how you can minimize those slowly changing dimensions inside your tables and get those out. Just, have type 1 fields inside your dimensions and have your type 2s inside your, that join to your fact table, all right? If you're not familiar with the difference, type 1, it means you don't care about it was previously. I just want to know what their age is today. It doesn't matter what their age was yesterday, right? Just stick it there. If you want it to understand what their age was over a period of time, throw that into the fact table, all right? Can't always do it, but if you can really get great performance out of that, right? We talked about this one, minimizing the number of fields inside your columns. Again, not 250. Hopefully you're down to something much more reasonable, like 20, 30, maybe 50, something like that. Here too, make sure you spend a little time and organize your fields inside of folders. The more you add that in by adding those fields into folders, adding in descriptions into the metadata inside your tabular model, the more usable your reports are going to be, the more friendly it is for users to come in and use that stuff. All right. And then last but not least, even inside your dimension fields, find ways to reduce the length of those texts inside your dimensional fields. All right. Less than 256 is good. Under 100 is better. Under 50 is best. If you could find ways to condense that, sometimes you need these big, long, characters. Try to eliminate that especially inside your cache memory. You need to do something longer than that. Move that into your direct query. Don't have that inside your Power BI. All right. All these things that we talked about here can help you ensure that your dimensions are running as fast, as smoothly as possible, and load as fast as they possibly can. All right. On to fact tables. All right. Again, only integers, or this, in your fact tables, only integers and numeric values. No text. Nada. Zero. Zilch. None. None of that, okay? Your fact tables are just integer based. You can have a billion records inside your fact table and it can still scream to beat the bands if you've ensured that you have absolutely no text-based fields. I'll give you a date time field for refreshes, but other than that, none of it. No text fields inside your fact table. But Chris, I really want to have a text field inside my fact table. No. All right. Also, favor going long with your fields or your table versus going wide. Chris, what the heck are you talking about? What do you mean long versus wide, right? Don't have many different columns that you're adding up. Instead of doing that, add those columns in as a different measure type that you can just always add into your fact table. That makes it really easy to add in additional units, additional measures. You can pile a whole ton of stuff inside there. Some of you modelers may get against that and may go, there's all sorts of problems with that. Fight those religious wars elsewhere, or fight them out in the comments. Okay, fine. You want to have those battles, have those battles. I say best way to do it that I've seen is you add in different measures in each different record. Super easy to use. Again, using that comment that tip we talked about earlier, the calculate and the filter function. You just add that into all your bases. Super easy, especially when it comes to expanding and growing in your environment. You never have to worry about, I gotta do a full load because someone had a new column on. Nope. Boop. They just insert more records into your fact table. Piece of cake. The only time you have to worry about adding a new column is when you're adding in a new dimension. All right, so it reduces your complexity and makes the development things much faster. All right, 100%. Long versus wide. My book wins every single day. Again, we talk about the smart keys. Your join to your date table is a YYYYMMDD format. All right, that's it. That's the format, right? I don't care if date converts in some other databases. Use this one. Keep it as your standard. Use this as a smart key. Don't debate it. All right. Next one. Look for how you can use aggregated tables. The more while going long is better than going wide, the more you can contract that down and crunch that down to a granularity and to a size that is more applicable to what people are going to be using, or what they're going to be commonly using with aggregated tables, the better performance you're going to see inside your performance inside your environment. Aggregated tables, Phil Seamark has a 6-part series on them. Again, links down below. You've got to check out his series. They're incredibly good. He goes over all the different use cases for how you can use aggregated tables inside your model, how you use them inside your measures, how you use them inside of Power BI. If you don't know what that is, basically you have one big fact table that's got all of your details and everything in it. And then you have another fact table that's your aggregated fact table that you use for the bulk of your reporting. But you write a singular measure that knows how to transverse those based upon the filter context. All right? Makes things much easier to use, makes your reports much more performant. It's super important. And last thing I'm going to talk about here, and this is true for fact tables, it's true for your entire model. It's learning about how to use Vertipack Analyzer. Vertipack Analyzer, God's own truth. This thing is a blessing. It's been around for a long time. Super important. Really valuable. Also, I don't have it on the slide here, but I'm going to mention it to you. Also, make sure that you're using DAX Studio. There is a 4-part video on all the different ways to use DAX Studio that I've got outlined below by the guys who created it. Take 4 hours. Tell your boss that you need this time to hone your craft. Go down, watch those 4 hours of videos of how you can use DAX Studio to make your models scream. 100% worth every second that you spend on it. All right. Next thing. Moving on. So we've covered data flows, data sets, and now we're on to the last leg. Thanks for hanging in there with me. The last piece is your report optimization. All right. Now, a lot of people spend a ton of time on that front end and they forget, or the back end, and they forget about the front end. Make sure you're spending time digging into how you can make sure that your report is performant as it possibly can. All right. That comes into minimizing the number of visuals on your page. Right. Figure out ways to, instead of having 37 KPI slicers, figure out how you can, format a grid to do the same thing. There have been a number of great videos on how you can do that. Casper, he put out the first one. I saw a great guide in the Cube one. Again, links down below. Figure out how you can reduce that number of visuals. You say, Chris, why? I can add in 100 visuals. Who cares? Because Power BI is built off JavaScript engine. JavaScript is single-threaded. It'll only process one thing at a time, so it's always serial. If you have 100 things that need to load, it will go through 100 things one at a time. And there's no real good order to it, at least that I know. If you know of a good way to tell what order it's in, comment down below. I'd love to hear about it, but it's pretty much random. And if the first thing that starts to load is that god-awful grid, that huge grid that you added that's not in our 3.5 framework, it's in that like 37-second framework that it takes to load, your entire report is held hostage by that 37-second visual. Find ways to reduce those capabilities, right? Great way to do that is by using backgrounds that you formatted to give your report shape and flow. Straight up, there are two incredible resources for this. Chris Hamill's Alluring BI, link below, and Power BI Tips, link below. They've got some incredible examples how to do it. And Kratos BI, I got some great examples for that too. Super easy. Again, links below. Check that stuff out. Really important. Helps you reduce the number of visuals and makes your report look really great. All right. Also look for ways that you can minimize your grids and your table details. Figure out if you can use those little toggles to have it all rolled up at a level, and then enable users to drill into it. Either drilling in with the little plus minus buttons or drill in using buttons. Either of those, what we'll do is it will, and this applies to the next thing, it will create a filter context for what you're trying to visualize, making sure that things are snappy and fast on load, and therefore snappy and fast as people start to drill into more of the details. Additionally, this is a good time and place for you to look at drilling over into a direct query or drilling over into paginated reports that queries content directly. All right, super important. And then another one is look at applying filters at a report level that hone in on specifically what the user should be looking at and seeing. Don't have it just wide open to begin with. All right. Last step, make sure that you understand how you can how to evaluate the visuals on your report and identify the most expensive ones. Again, if you're trying to go for that 3.5 SLA that we talk about, that 3 seconds on a visual, that 5 seconds on a grid or a table, you're going to need to use the performance monitor that was just added to Power BI Desktop. Click on that button, refresh your visuals, watch how long it takes for each one to load. Go out there, take the longest running one and take that DAX measure right out of there, plunk that into DAX Studio, see what you can do to optimize it, right? Send that back into the cube, figure out what you can do to adjust your model, to write your DAX measure more effectively, use variables inside your calculations, figure that stuff out. All right, super important. All right, that's it. That's all I got. That's the comprehensive be-all, end-all, last word in Power BI optimization. I kid. I'm just, that was just an overview of every single topic we can think of when it comes to optimizing your Power BI reports. Again, I've got all the links, because if you're sitting here listening to this, you've got problems where I just probably glossed over what it was your issue was. There are links below to all of these different topics, to tons of different resources out there that can help you go into more detail on this. All right. As always, it's been a super pleasure. If you like the t-shirt, you like the Data Gods, go out to my merch store. Again, link below. And get yourself some of these limited edition tees. This is our first Data God. He is also going to be the first guy to have his t-shirt discontinued. Go out there and order them while supplies last. If you like the content, go over to Kratos BI, buy me a coffee. I still got a ton of these I Love Power BI stickers. I got magnets. I got tons of stuff. And if stickers are your thing, out on the merch store, we have all of the Data Gods. We got just tons of them out there. Go ahead and go out and get yourself some sticker. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was educational for you. I hope that this helped you build out better, more effective models. Hope this saves you millions of dollars in your Azure spend. Again, if you like the content, you want to see more stuff, if you have questions for me about specific things, shoot me an email, send me a message on LinkedIn or Twitter. I'm happy to go through and respond to people and let them know how to make their content better. All right? Thanks, everybody. Peace.